By the time I opened my eyes in the emergency room, I had a fractured collarbone, 2 cracked ribs, a concussion, and a line of stitches above my eyebrow. But none of that was the tragedy. The tragedy was that my 6-week-old daughter, Lily, was not with family. She was not in my mother's arms. She was not being rocked by the woman who had cried at my baby shower and promised she would always be there for her first grandchild. Lily was with a stranger. A professional newborn nurse I had hired from the back of an ambulance, while blood ran down the side of my face. And what my mother did that afternoon would eventually cost her a Bahamas cruise, her comfortable lifestyle, and the inheritance she had spent years counting on. My name is Claire Whitman. I'm 29 years old, and until that day, I still believed there were certain emergencies cruel enough to make even selfish people show up. I was wrong. That morning started like any other exhausted new mom morning in Nashville. Lily had barely slept the night before. She was in that tiny newborn stage where her fists stayed curled against her cheeks and her whole body fit against my chest like she had been made to live there. My husband, Daniel, was in Dallas for a business conference. He had kissed my forehead before leaving 2 days earlier and promised he would be home by Friday night. So when we ran out of diapers, wipes, and the special oatmeal I had been eating because everyone online swore it helped with milk supply, I asked our neighbor, Mrs. Helen Kim, to watch Lily for half an hour. Mrs. Kim was 74, kind, and careful. She lived 2 doors down and had brought soup twice since Lily was born, but she was not meant to handle a newborn all afternoon. She had agreed to sit in my living room while Lily napped, nothing more. "I'll be right back," I promised. That was the last normal sentence I remembered saying. On my way home from the grocery store, a white delivery truck ran a red light at the intersection of Charlotte Avenue and 28th. I saw it for half a second. Then metal screamed. The impact hit the driver's side so hard my car spun across the road. Groceries flew everywhere. The airbag exploded against my face. For one strange moment, everything was white and loud and weightless. Then there was nothing. When I came to, a paramedic was leaning over me, telling me not to move. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" I tried to answer, but my mouth tasted like blood. "My baby," I whispered. The paramedic leaned closer. "Your baby was in the car." "No," I forced out. "Home, 6 weeks old. Neighbor, I need my phone." "You've been in a serious accident. We're taking you to Nashville General." "My phone," I said again, panic cutting through the fog in my head. "Please." Maybe she heard something in my voice. Maybe she was a mother herself. She found my phone in the wreckage, cracked but working, and placed it carefully in my shaking hand once we were inside the ambulance. The first person I called was my mother. Diane Caldwell answered on the 3rd ring. "Claire," she said, already annoyed. "I'm at Belmead Day Spa. Is this important?" My throat tightened with relief just hearing her voice. "Mom, I've been in an accident," I said. "A bad one. I'm in an ambulance. Lily is at home with Mrs. Kim, and I need you to go get her." There was a pause, not fear, not alarm, a pause of inconvenience. "What do you mean, an accident?" "A truck hit me. My car is totaled. They're taking me to Nashville General. Daniel S. in Dallas, and Mrs. Kim can't watch Lily for long. Please, Mom, she's only 6 weeks old." In the background, I heard soft music, running water, and then my sister Ashley laughing. My mother sighed. "Claire, your sister and I are in the middle of our pre-cruise spa package. We leave for Tampa tomorrow morning. You know that." For a second, I thought the head injury was making me misunderstand her. "Mom," I said slowly, "I'm in an ambulance. And I'm sorry that happened, but I can't just walk out in the middle of a prepaid appointment. Can't Daniel handle it?" "He's in Dallas. His flight isn't until tonight." "Well, call one of your friends." "I don't need a babysitter for a date night," I cried. "I need someone to pick up my newborn because I'm being taken to the emergency room." The ambulance hit a bump, and pain shot through my chest so sharply I gasped. The paramedic looked over, concerned. My mother lowered her voice, but not with compassion. "Claire, this is what I mean when I say you never plan ahead. Responsible mothers have backup arrangements." I didn't plan to get hit by a truck. "You always say things like that. Everything is a crisis with you." The words landed harder than the crash. I stared at the ceiling of the ambulance, blinking against the tears. "Please," I whispered, "I am begging you, just get Lily for a few hours." My mother's voice turned cold. "Lily is your responsibility, Claire. You chose to have a baby. You need to deal with the consequences." Something inside me went completely still. My daughter is not a consequence. "That's not what I meant." "Yes, it is." "I have to go," she said. "My treatment is starting and Ashley is waiting. Call a service. You and Daniel make good money." Then the line went dead. I stared at my cracked screen, at my mother's smiling contact photo, and for the first time in my life, I stopped making excuses for her. The paramedic touched my arm gently. "Do you have anyone else?" I scrolled through my contacts with trembling fingers until I found a number I had saved months earlier. Cradle Care Emergency Newborn Services. A calm woman answered. Within minutes, she promised to send Nora Ellis, a registered newborn nurse, to my house. A stranger said yes faster than my own mother had said no. As the ambulance siren screamed toward the hospital, I closed my eyes and made myself one silent promise. If I survived that day, Diane Caldwell would never again benefit from a daughter she refused to love when it mattered. And somewhere across town, while my mother relaxed under warm towels and spa music, she had no idea that one phone call from Grandpa Walt was about to change everything. I didn't know then that my mother's refusal was not the worst part. The worst part would come later, when I realized I had spent almost a decade protecting the comfort of a woman who would not cross town to protect my child. By the time the ambulance doors opened at Nashville General Medical Center, the pain had become a living thing. It wrapped around my ribs, burned through my shoulder, and pulsed behind my eyes with every flash of the emergency room lights. Nurses moved around me quickly. Someone cut open my sleeve. Someone asked me my name. Someone shined a light into my eyes and told me to follow their finger. A doctor pressed gently along my collarbone, and I nearly screamed. Through all of it, I kept asking the same question. "Is Nora there yet?" The nurse beside me checked my phone. The newborn nurse. I nodded, wincing. She texted, "She's with Mrs. Kim now. Your baby is safe." Safe, that one word did what the pain medicine couldn't. It let me breathe. A stranger had reached my daughter before my own mother even bothered to call back. They took me for a CT scan because the doctors were worried about bleeding in my brain. Then X-rays. Then stitches above my eyebrow. I drifted in and out, waking to fragments of conversation. Concussion. Fractured collarbone. 2 cracked ribs. Observation overnight. At some point, a nurse helped me pump milk for Lily because even half-conscious and bruised from shoulder to hip, I was still her mother. The hospital coordinated with Nora, who promised she could safely feed Lily and stay as long as needed. Every update from Nora was calm and detailed. Lily took 2 ounces. Lily is sleeping. Lily's diaper was changed at 4:10. Lily is safe. My mother had given me excuses. A stranger gave me peace. Around 6 that evening, my phone rang. Daniel. The second I answered, his voice broke. "Claire, oh my God, I just landed and saw your messages. Are you okay? Where's Lily? What happened?" The sound of him nearly undid me. "I'm at Nashville General," I whispered. "Lily is okay. Nora from Cradle Care is with her." "Nora? Who's Nora?" "A newborn nurse." I had to hire someone. There was a pause, and I could hear him moving quickly through the airport. "Why? Where's your mother?" I closed my eyes. She said no. Daniel stopped walking. I could hear it in the silence. "What do you mean?" She said no. "She was at the spa with Ashley. They leave for the cruise tomorrow. She said Lily was my responsibility. She said I chose to have a baby and needed to deal with the consequences." For a moment, there was nothing but airport noise in the background. Then Daniel said, very quietly, "She called our daughter a consequence." She said that's not what she meant. That is exactly what she meant. I swallowed hard. "I'm getting on the first flight back," he said. "What about your presentation?" "Claire, I don't care about the presentation. It was important. My wife is in the hospital, and my daughter is with a stranger because her grandmother couldn't be bothered to leave a spa. Nothing is more important than that. And that was when I started crying. Not because of the broken ribs, not because of the stitches, not even because I was scared. I cried because Daniel's reaction was immediate, simple, and right. He did not negotiate with my emergency. He did not question whether I was being dramatic. He did not remind me of his schedule or complain about inconvenience. He showed up before he had even reached me. That was what family was supposed to do, and it made my mother's choice hurt even more. While I waited for Daniel's flight, the hospital room grew quiet. The machines beeped softly. The pain medicine made the edges of the room blur, but my mind kept circling one thought. She would not give me 3 hours, not 3 days, not 3 weeks, not money, not sacrifice, 3 hours. That was all I had asked from the woman who had spent my entire life telling me family was everything. But maybe I had always known the truth. I grew up as Diane Caldwell's difficult daughter. That was never said outright, but everyone understood it. Ashley was easy. Ashley was pretty. Ashley knew how to flatter my mother, how to laugh at the right moments, how to need help in a way that made Diane feel important. I was different. I asked too many questions. I cried too hard. I remembered promises people forgot making. When Ashley failed a class, she was overwhelmed. When I got a B, I was careless. When Ashley needed money, she was going through a hard time. When I needed emotional support, I was being dramatic. For years, I told myself my mother loved us equally, just differently, but lying to yourself takes energy. Eventually, the truth starts leaking through. When I was 20, my father's hours were cut at work. I overheard my parents arguing about the mortgage late one night after Sunday dinner. My mother was crying. My father sounded defeated. I had just started my first full-time job after college. The salary wasn't huge, but I was living cheaply, and I wanted to help. So I created a separate account. At first, I sent $1,200 a month. Then my career grew, promotions came, Daniel and I became more stable. My parents' needs somehow grew with my income. By the time Lily was born, I was sending $4,200 every single month. The money went through an account my parents believed was connected to my father's old pension adjustment. I never corrected them. They never asked enough questions to notice. For 9 years, that money helped pay their mortgage, their car payment, vacations, spa days, restaurant dinners, home renovations, and more than one small loan to Ashley that never came back. I told myself it was love. I told myself I was being a good daughter. I told myself that one day, my mother would look at me and finally see someone worth choosing. But lying to yourself takes energy. And I had none left. Lying in that hospital bed, with a fractured collarbone and my newborn being cared for by a stranger, I finally understood what the payments had really been. They were not support. They were a subscription fee for conditional acceptance. And even after paying it for 9 years, I still could not buy 3 hours of my mother's time. With my left hand shaking, I opened my banking app. The automatic transfer was listed under recurring payments. Caldwell Household Support, $4,200 monthly. The next payment was scheduled for 5 days later. I stared at it for a long time. Then I tapped cancel. A warning appeared. Are you sure you want to cancel this recurring transfer? For once, the answer was easy. Yes. Then I opened a new savings account. The bank asked me to name it. I typed 2 words. Lily's future. I set the same amount to transfer every month, but this time it would go to my daughter, her education, her safety, her dreams, her life. The money I had spent trying to earn my mother's love would now protect the child my mother refused to help. When I pressed confirm, I expected guilt. Instead, I felt air enter a room inside me that had been locked for years. A nurse came in to check my vitals and smiled gently. "You look calmer," she said. I just made a decision I should have made a long time ago. Those are usually the ones that save us. She had no idea how right she was. Because across town, Diane Caldwell was probably packing sundresses for a cruise she still thought she was taking. She had no idea the money was gone. She had no idea Daniel was on his way home. And she had no idea that Grandpa Walt was about to hear what she had done. and she had no idea that Grandpa Walt was about to hear what she had done. It happened around 8:30 that night. The hospital room was dim except for the blue-white glow of the monitor beside my bed and the thin strip of hallway light beneath the door. The pain medicine had softened the sharpest edges of my injuries, but it couldn't touch the ache sitting heavy in my chest. Every few minutes, I checked my phone. Nora had sent another update. Lily just finished her bottle. She fought it at first, but she took almost 3 ounces. She's sleeping now. Mrs. Kim is resting too. Everything is under control. I read the message twice. Then I cried again, not the loud kind of crying. The quiet, exhausted kind that slips out when your body has nothing left to hold it in. A stranger was sending me detailed notes about my daughter's feeding schedule while my own mother had not sent one text asking if I was alive. Then there was a knock at the door. I thought it might be a nurse. "Come in," I said weakly. The door opened, and an older man stepped inside wearing a dark green cardigan, khaki pants, and the same worn brown loafers he had owned for as long as I could remember. For one second, I wondered if the concussion was making me see things. Grandpa. Walter Hayes stood in the doorway with one hand gripping the frame, his face pale with worry and his blue eyes sharper than I had ever seen them. "Oh, Claire," he said. His voice broke on my name. I tried to sit up too quickly and pain tore through my ribs. He was at my side in 2 strides. "Don't move," he said firmly. "You just stay right there." "How did you know?" He pulled the chair closer to my bed and lowered himself into it slowly. He was 76, but that night he looked older, like the drive to the hospital had taken something out of him. "Helen Kim called me." "Mrs. Kim." "She said you'd been in a car accident. She said she had Lily, and then a newborn nurse came to take over. She also said—" He stopped, and his jaw tightened. "She said she overheard enough of your phone call with your mother to know Diane refused to help." I looked away. "Grandpa, I'm okay. Lily is okay. Nora is with her. Daniel is flying back now. Everything is handled." "Don't do that." His voice was gentle, but there was steel underneath it. "Do what?" "Make something terrible sound manageable, so nobody has to feel guilty." That landed so close to the truth that I couldn't answer. Grandpa Walt reached for my hand, careful of the IV. "You were in an ambulance," he said. "You were hurt. Your husband was out of state. Your newborn daughter needed family, and my daughter said no." I swallowed. She had her spa appointment. His eyes darkened. "Yes, I heard about that too." I closed my eyes. I didn't want anyone to make a big deal. "It is a big deal. She'll say I'm dramatic." She already did. My eyes opened. "You talked to her?" Grandpa Walt nodded once. "After Helen called, I called Diane before I came here. I wanted to believe there had been some misunderstanding. I wanted to believe my daughter had a reason that made sense, even if it was a bad one. And—" He looked toward the window, where the lights of Nashville blurred against the dark glass. "She told me you were exaggerating. She said you always turn small problems into emergencies. She said you and Daniel make enough money to hire help, so there was no reason for her to ruin her day." My face burned with humiliation. Even after everything, hearing it repeated hurt. "Then she said something else," Grandpa Walt continued, his voice quieter now. "I already knew. Somehow I knew. She said Lily wasn't her responsibility," he said. "She said you chose to have a baby, so you needed to deal with the consequences." The room seemed to tilt. I had heard those words once already, but hearing my grandfather say them made them feel even uglier. "My daughter is not a consequence," I whispered. "No," he said, "she is not." His hand tightened around mine, and that is when I canceled the cruise. I stared at him. "What?" "The Bahamas cruise. I canceled it." "Grandpa." "Your grandmother and I paid for that trip before she passed. It was supposed to be an anniversary gift for Diane and Richard. $12,000 for the premium package. Flights to Tampa, balcony suite, excursions, everything." I had known my parents were going on the cruise. I had not known Grandpa Walt had paid for it. "I thought I was giving my daughter joy," he said bitterly. Turns out I was funding her excuse to abandon my granddaughter and great-granddaughter. You didn't know. No, but I know now. Before I could answer, the door opened again. Daniel rushed in wearing the same navy suit he had worn to his conference, his tie pulled loose, his hair messy, his eyes wild with fear. The second he saw me, his face crumpled. Claire. He crossed the room and bent over me, kissing my forehead, my temple, the uninjured side of my face. I'm okay, I whispered. You are not okay. I'm alive. That is not the standard I'm using. Despite everything, I almost laughed. Grandpa Walt stood, giving Daniel room. Good to see you, son. Daniel shook his hand quickly, then looked back at me. Lily. With Nora, I said. She's safe. I'm going there as soon as I leave here. Grandpa canceled the cruise, I said. Daniel turned slowly. Good. Grandpa Walt looked at both of us. There's something else, isn't there? My stomach tightened. What do you mean? He studied my face. Claire, I've known you since the day you were born. You're carrying more than the accident right now. What else happened? Daniel looked at me too. For 9 years, I had kept the secret locked away so tightly that saying it out loud felt impossible. But the automatic transfer was gone now. The lie was already ending. I've been sending Mom and Dad money, I said. Grandpa Walt's eyebrows pulled together. What kind of money? Monthly support. How much? I hesitated. Claire, Daniel said softly. I looked down at the blanket. $4,200 a month. The room went completely silent. Grandpa Walt's hand dropped to the back of the chair. For how long? He asked. 9 years. Daniel whispered my name like it hurt him. I kept going before I lost the nerve. I started when Dad's hours were cut. I thought they might lose the house. At first it was smaller, but then it grew. They thought it came from some pension adjustment or maybe bookkeeping income, or, I don't know. They never asked. I never corrected them. Grandpa Walt's face had gone still in a way that frightened me. $4,200, he said slowly. Every month for 9 years. Yes. That is over $450,000. I know. And today, while you were injured in an ambulance, your mother refused to help the daughter who has been keeping a roof over her head. I couldn't speak. Daniel sat carefully on the edge of the bed and took my other hand. I canceled it, I whispered. From here, I stopped the transfer. I moved it to an account for Lily. Grandpa Walt's eyes shone, but not with sadness anymore, with fury. Good. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. Grandpa, what are you doing? Making one call. He stepped into the hallway, but the door did not close all the way. We could hear his voice. Diane, it's your father. No, you listen to me now. A pause. I know about the money. I know Claire has been paying your bills for 9 years. I know you took that comfort and still couldn't give her 3 hours when she was being rushed to the hospital. Another pause, his voice hardened. You have 24 hours to make this right. You will apologize to your daughter. You will show up for your granddaughter. You will take responsibility without excuses, without blaming Claire, and without pretending this was a misunderstanding. My mother's voice rose faintly through the speaker. Grandpa Walt cut her off. No, I am finished listening to you make yourself the victim. Daniel squeezed my hand. Then Grandpa said the words that changed everything. If you don't make this right, I am calling my attorney tomorrow morning. The house, the stocks, the savings, everything I plan to leave you will go to Claire and Lily instead. I will not reward a daughter who abandons her child and calls her granddaughter a consequence. Silence, then shouting. Grandpa Walt's voice dropped lower. Your mother would be ashamed of you, Diane. Tonight, so am I. He hung up. When he came back into the room, he looked tired but certain. You don't have to do that, I said. Yes, he answered. I do. Because of me. Because of what is right. He leaned down and kissed my forehead. Rest now. Daniel, send me the address where Lily is. I'm going to meet my great-granddaughter. After he left, the room was quiet except for the monitor. Daniel climbed carefully into the chair beside my bed, still holding my hand. "She has 24 hours," he said. I looked at my phone. For the first time all day, my mother was calling. Then calling again, then the texts started, and not one of them began with "I'm sorry," and not one of them began with "I'm sorry." The first text from my mother came at 10:07 p.m. "Claire, your grandfather is very upset and confused. You need to call me immediately so we can clear this up." Then another. "This has been blown completely out of proportion. I never refused to help. You caught me at a bad time." Then another. "Do you understand what you've done? Your grandfather canceled our cruise. Your father is devastated." I stared at that one for a long time. Not one word about Lily. Not one word about my injuries. Not one word asking whether her daughter, who had been cut out of a totaled car only hours earlier, was scared or in pain or alive. Just the cruise. Daniel took the phone gently from my hand. "Don't read any more tonight," he said. "She's not sorry." "No," he said, "she's scared." "Of losing me." His eyes softened with pity. "Of losing what you gave her." That hurt because it was true. A few minutes later, my phone rang again. This time it was Ashley. I almost declined, but some part of me wanted to know whether my sister would be different. Maybe she had heard I was hurt. Maybe she was calling because, beneath all the competition our mother had planted between us, she still cared. I answered. "What did you do?" Ashley snapped. "No hello. No, are you okay? No, how is Lily? Just accusation." I closed my eyes. "Nice to hear from you too." Mom is hysterical. Grandpa canceled the cruise, Dad is furious, and everyone is saying Grandpa might change his will. "Are you happy now?" "Happy," I repeated. "Ashley, I'm in the hospital." "You're clearly well enough to cause chaos." Daniel sat up straighter in the chair beside me. I held up one hand, telling him not to jump in. "It wasn't a minor accident," I said. "I have cracked ribs, a fractured collarbone, stitches, and a concussion. Lily was home with Mrs. Kim, and Mom refused to pick her up. She said you were being dramatic." "Of course she did. She said you demanded she cancel the cruise. I asked her to watch my 6-week-old baby for a few hours while I was being taken to the emergency room." Ashley went quiet for half a second, then her voice hardened again. "She had plans, Claire." "I had a head injury." "You always do this. You make everything about you." Something inside me, the part that had spent years absorbing that sentence, finally stopped bending. "No," I said. "For once, I'm making this about Lily." Ashley scoffed. "Don't use your baby as an excuse to punish Mom." "I'm not punishing her. I'm done funding her." "What does that mean?" I looked at Daniel. He nodded once, steady and calm. "It means I canceled the monthly payments." "What monthly payments?" "The $4,200 I've been sending Mom and Dad every month for 9 years. Silence, then Ashley laughed. "That's ridiculous." "It's true." "No, it is. Ask Grandpa. Or ask Mom why their mortgage, car payment, spa days, and vacations have been covered all these years. Ask her where she thought that money was coming from. She said Dad's pension adjustment. There was no pension adjustment." Another silence. This one lasted longer. "You're lying," Ashley said, but her voice was less certain now. "I wish I were. You expect me to believe you paid almost $500,000 and never told anyone." "I didn't do it for applause. I did it because I thought helping them might finally make Mom love me the way she loves you." "That is manipulative." I almost laughed, but my ribs hurt too much. Me paying their bills for 9 years was manipulative. "You're using money to control people." "No," I said. "I'm taking my money back from people who only valued me while I was useful." Ashley's voice turned sharp again. "Mom loves you." Mom refused to leave a spa while I was in an ambulance. She had already paid for the package. Grandpa paid for it. Ashley had no answer to that. For the first time, I heard uncertainty in her breathing, but she recovered quickly. "You know what? Fine, keep your money, keep Grandpa's inheritance, keep playing the victim, but don't be surprised when you end up alone because you pushed everyone away." The old me would have begged her to understand. The old me would have explained and apologized and softened everything so she would not stay angry. But that version of me had died somewhere between the ambulance siren and the moment my mother said Lily was my responsibility. "I'm not alone," I said. Daniel came. Grandpa came. Mrs. Kim stayed with Lily. Nora showed up. Even strangers did more for me today than my own family. Ashley inhaled sharply, and Ashley. "What?" "Don't call me again unless your first words are you okay?" Then I hung up. My hands were shaking, but my heart was strangely calm. Daniel kissed my knuckles. "I'm proud of you." "I don't feel brave." Brave people usually don't. The next morning, doctors discharged me with strict instructions to rest, avoid lifting anything heavier than a few pounds, and return immediately if my headaches worsened. Daniel brought Lily to the hospital before we went home. The second he placed her in my arms, I broke. She smelled like milk and baby lotion. Her tiny fingers curled against my hospital gown, and she made a soft little sound like she was annoyed I had taken so long to come back. "I'm sorry," I whispered into her hair. "I'm so sorry." Nora stood near the door with a folder of notes. Feeding times, diaper changes, nap lengths, everything organized, careful, professional. "She did beautifully," Nora said. "You have a strong little girl." "I had help," I said, looking at her. "Thank you for being there when my mother wouldn't." Her expression softened. Family is who shows up, remember that. When we got home, the front porch was covered in flowers. Bouquets from neighbors, Daniel's coworkers, my friend group, even the nurses from my prenatal class. Nothing from my parents, nothing from Ashley. But there was a large white box from Grandpa Walt. Inside were savings bonds and a handwritten note for Lily's future, because she deserves a family that chooses her first. Love, Grandpa Walt. The bonds totaled $50,000. I sat on the couch holding that note and cried harder than I had in the hospital. The 24-hour deadline passed. No apology came. Instead, my mother sent one last message from a new number. "I hope you're satisfied. You have humiliated this family." Grandpa Walt called me the next morning. "It's done," he said. "What is?" "The will." My attorney updated everything. "You and Lily are the primary beneficiaries now." "Grandpa." "No, Claire, listen to me. This isn't revenge, it's protection. Your grandmother would have wanted me to protect the person who needed protecting." 2 weeks later, the first mortgage payment bounced. I knew because my mother called from another unknown number. This time, I answered. "Claire," she said, her voice tight with panic. "There's been some kind of mistake with the house payment." "There's no mistake." "The automatic payment didn't go through." "I canceled it." A pause, then very quietly, "That was you." "All these years, yes." "You can't just stop paying. We'll lose the house." "You mean the house I helped you keep for 9 years?" "We are your parents." "Then you should have acted like it." She started crying then, but it sounded different from real grief. It sounded like fear. Fear of losing comfort. Fear of losing control. Fear of having to live within the truth of her own choices. "Claire, please, we can talk about this." We could have talked when I was in the ambulance. I didn't understand how serious it was. "You didn't care enough to find out." "That's not fair." "No, Mom. What wasn't fair was giving you nearly $500,000 and still not being worth 3 hours of your time." She had no answer, so I gave her one. "The money is going to Lily now, where it should have gone all along." Then I hung up. After that, the calls came in waves. My father, Ashley, cousins I barely knew. Everyone had an opinion about how cruel I was being. Not one of them asked how I was healing. Not one asked about Lily, so I blocked them all. And for the first time in my life, the silence that followed did not feel lonely. It felt peaceful. It felt peaceful, not happy exactly, not at first. Peace and happiness are not the same thing. Happiness is warm and easy. Peace can feel cold in the beginning, like stepping outside after being trapped in a burning house. You're safe, but your lungs still hurt from the smoke. For the next few weeks, I healed slowly. I slept propped up on pillows because my ribs screamed every time I moved. Daniel took time off work and turned our living room into a recovery station. Water bottle, pain medication, burp cloths, Lily's bassinet, snacks I could eat with one hand. He learned how to lift her carefully against my chest so I could hold her without straining my shoulder. Every time Lily curled into me, I thought about what my mother had said. "You chose to have a baby. You need to deal with the consequences." I would look at Lily's tiny sleeping face and feel something harden inside me. She was not a consequence. She was a miracle. A responsibility, yes, a life-changing one, but never a burden, never something to regret, never something my mother would be allowed to make her feel guilty for being. Grandpa Walt came every Sunday. At first, he said he was just dropping by. But he always arrived with groceries, a casserole, diapers, or some small thing he claimed he had accidentally picked up. Then he would sit in the rocking chair near the window with Lily tucked against his chest, telling her stories about my grandmother. "She would have loved you," he whispered to Lily one afternoon. "She would have spoiled you rotten and told everyone you had my eyes." "She does have your eyes," I said from the couch. Grandpa smiled down at her. "Smart girl." He never pushed me to reconcile with Diane. He never asked whether I had spoken to my father or Ashley. He simply showed up, week after week, proving with quiet consistency what love looked like when it did not need applause. 3 months after the accident, I heard through Mrs. Kim that my parents had sold their SUV. A month after that, they listed their house. By summer, Diane and Richard had moved into a smaller condo outside Nashville. My father picked up part-time consulting work. My mother started working full-time as a bookkeeper for a local dental office. When I heard, I waited for guilt to come. It didn't. I didn't feel joy either. I wasn't sitting around celebrating their stress. But I had spent 9 years cushioning them from reality while they treated me like an inconvenience. Now they were living within their actual means, the way Daniel and I had always done. That wasn't punishment. That was consequence. A real one. 6 months after the crash, Daniel got promoted. His company told him they admired the way he had handled the family emergency, even though he had missed the Dallas presentation. One of his senior managers had said, "Anyone who knows when to choose family is someone I trust with leadership." When he told me, I cried. Not because of the promotion, though I was proud of him. I cried because the same choice my mother had refused to make had been the choice that earned Daniel respect. That night, we opened Lily's future account together and made the first big contribution using Daniel's bonus. The monthly $4,200 transfers continued. Every time I saw the confirmation email, I felt lighter. That money no longer paid for Diane's spa days, Richard's car payment, or Ashley's emergencies. It belonged to Lily now, her education, her safety, her dreams, a future funded by love, not guilt. 1 year after the accident, a letter arrived. The return address was Ashley's. I almost threw it away unopened. I stood over the trash can for a full minute, envelope in hand, Lily babbling from her high chair while smearing banana across her tray. Then I opened it. The handwriting was shaky. "Claire. I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from. I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to hear from me either." I sat down slowly at the kitchen table. Ashley wrote that after I cut off Diane, our mother had turned to her. At first, the requests were small. A few $100s for groceries, then $1,000 for the mortgage shortfall, then several thousand for temporary help. Diane cried, guilted her, praised her, attacked her, apologized, and asked again. Ashley admitted she had given our parents more than $30,000 in less than a year. Then, when she finally said no, Diane called her selfish, ungrateful, dramatic. The same words she had always saved for me. "I understand now," Ashley wrote. "You were not exaggerating. You were not trying to destroy the family. You were surviving it. I'm sorry I didn't believe you. I'm sorry I helped Mom make you feel alone." I read the letter twice, then a third time. Part of me wanted to feel victorious. Part of me wanted to call her and say, "Now you see it. Now you know." But mostly I just felt tired, so I wrote back, "Ashley, thank you for being honest. I'm sorry you're going through this now. I hope you protect yourself and your marriage. I'm not ready to rebuild a relationship, but I appreciate the apology. Take care of yourself." I mailed it the next morning. I did not hear from her again, and strangely, that was okay. By the time Lily turned 2, our life looked nothing like it had before the crash. There were no family holidays at Diane's house. No tense dinners where I measured every word. No phone calls that left me feeling smaller. No monthly transfers draining our future into people who never valued the sacrifice. Instead, there was Sunday breakfast with Grandpa Walt. There were video calls with Daniel's parents in Arizona, who adored Lily and mailed her books constantly. There was Mrs. Kim, who still lived 2 doors down and had become Auntie Helen, whether she liked it or not. There was Nora from Cradle Care, who sent a birthday card every year because she said she would never forget the brave mother who hired her from an ambulance. And there was peace. Real peace. One Saturday afternoon, we took Lily to Centennial Park. The weather was perfect, bright and mild, with families spread across the grass and children running between the trees. Grandpa Walt pushed Lily on the swing while Daniel stood nearby, pretending not to worry every time she leaned back too far. Lily squealed with laughter, curls bouncing, little sneakers kicking the air. Another mother stood beside me, watching with a smile. "She's adorable," she said. "Thank you." "Is that her grandfather?" I looked at Grandpa Walt. He was making silly faces, and Lily was laughing like he had personally invented joy. "Yes," I said, "that's her grandpa." "Do her other grandparents live nearby too?" For a moment, I considered the long answer. The accident, the ambulance, the spa, the cruise, the years of money, the refusal, the inheritance, the grief. Then I realized I didn't owe strangers the full story. I smiled. "She has the family she needs." The woman nodded, understanding more than I expected, and turned back to her own child. A few feet away, Grandpa Walt lifted Lily from the swing and settled her on his hip. She pressed both hands against his cheeks and said, "Walt." He laughed so hard his eyes watered. That was when I knew we were going to be okay, not because Diane had changed. She hadn't. She still sent birthday cards for Lily. I never opened them. They went into a box in the garage in case Lily ever wanted them someday. But for now, my daughter did not need a grandmother who saw her as an obligation. She had people who chose her, every day. And I had finally learned the lesson it took a car accident, a hospital bed, and one phone call from Grandpa Walt to teach me. You are not required to fund your own mistreatment. You are not obligated to stay loyal to people who abandon you in emergencies. And you are not selfish for taking back the money, time, love, and energy you spent trying to earn a place in a family that only valued what you provided. My mother refused my newborn during my car accident because she had a cruise to prepare for. Grandpa Walt made one call and everything changed. But the real change was not the canceled cruise, the lost inheritance, or the money Diane could no longer touch. The real change was me. I stopped begging to be chosen by people who only loved me when I was useful, and I started building a life with the people who showed up. That life was smaller than the family I used to dream of, but it was honest. It was safe. And when Lily reached for me across the park, laughing in the sunlight, I knew it was more than enough.